gentlemen. Welcome to episode 1 of Off the Path, the Strange Pathways podcast. With me today, Chayse.
Hello.
Chayse and I have been friends for many, many years, and Chayse has the unique position of living close to what we're going to talk about today, the Hopkinsville Goblins. From the Kentucky New Era, August 22nd, 1955. Headline, Story of Spaceship, 12 Little Men Probed Today. Kelly Farmhouse scene of alleged raid by strange crew last night. Reports say bullets failed to affect visitors. By Joe Doris. All kinds of investigations were going on today in connection with the bizarre story of how a spaceship carrying 12 to 15 little men landed in the Kelly community early last night and battled occupants of a farmhouse. Most official of the probes was reportedly being staged by the Air Force. More than a dozen state, county, and city officers from Christian and Hopkins counties went to the scene between 11 p.m. and midnight and remained until after 2 a.m. without seeing anything either to prove or disprove the story about the ship and its occupants. The farmhouse is located on the old Madisonville Road, about 8 miles north of Hopkinsville. The property is occupied by Cecil Lucky Sutton, one of those who reported experiencing last night's phenomena. There were some 10 or 12 persons at the house, including several children, but investigating officers were not able to determine exactly how many of those present actually claimed to have seen any of the little men from the spaceship. Only other person who officers quoted directly was identified as Billy Ray Taylor. One account said Taylor is a visitor from Pennsylvania, which recently had a similar report of a spaceship. Neither Sutton nor Taylor was at home when the officers returned to the scene this morning. The story broke around 11 o'clock last night when 2 cars, one bearing a Pennsylvania license, drove up to the Hopkinsville Police Headquarters. Officers then at the station said the 2 autos contained at least 5 adults and several children. All appear highly excited. Spokesman for the crowd told of how something resembling a spaceship or a flying saucer had landed at the back of their house near Kelly, and 12 or 15 men, who appeared to be about 4 feet tall, had got out of the ship and come up to the house and done battle with the occupants. "We need help," one of the men said. "We've been fighting them for nearly 4 hours. 4 city police, Chief Russell Greenwald, T.C. Gross, Doris Francis, and Grace Salter, drove to the scene to see about the little men. By radio, contact was made with State Troopers R.N. Ferguson Jr. and G.W. Riley, and Deputy Sheriff George Batts, all of whom joined the motorcade to Kelly in their own vehicles. 4 MPs also went. The radio discussions also brought 2 Hopkins County deputy sheriffs and at least 3 state troopers from the station at Madisonville. First arrivers found the scene deserted. The 2 cars which had brought the report to Hopkinsville did not return to the Kelly farm until after officers had arrived and looked the situation over. Officers reported they found no tracks of the little men, nor was there any mark indicating anything had landed at the described spot behind the house. There was a hole in the screen at the window through which occupants said a shot had been fired at one of the strange little men. Both Chief Greenwell and Deputy Sheriff Batts said they got approximately this story from the still terrified and excited Sutton and Taylor families. About 7 p.m., one of the men went out of the house to get a bucket of water. He saw what looked like a flying saucer come over the trees and land in a field at a point about a city block behind the house. There was no explosion, only a semi-hissing sound, and the watcher returned to the house with the bucket of water. A short time later, somebody reported little men with big heads and long arms were approaching the house. The men were described as having huge eyes and hands out of proportion to their small bodies. The visitors were wearing what looked to be metal plates. The men got their guns, a shotgun for Sutton and a .22 caliber target pistol for Taylor. By and by, one of the little men pressed his face against the window and the shotgun was fired through the window. The face disappeared. The men decided to go outside to see if the visitor had been hit. Taylor was in front. When he emerged from the front door, a huge hand reached down from the low roof above the door and grabbed him by the hair. He pulled away and the 2 men went on out of the house. One of the strange little men was in a nearby tree. another on top of the house. A blast from Sutton's shotgun knocked another one of the men down, but he did not appear hurt. The little man disappeared into the darkness. Taylor reportedly opened fire on another member of the invading party, also with little effect. This battle went on for some time. When the occupants of the house saw their chance, they jumped into their cars and drove to Hopkinsville for help. Deputy Sheriff Batts said that the men told him that in all they fired about 4 boxes of 22 pistol shells. The officer quoted a neighbor, saying he had heard shooting at the Suttons, but distinguished only about 4 shots and mistook them for firecrackers. Most of the officers remained at the site for more than 2 hours. During that period, there were approximately 25 persons at the scene. The only excitement during the period the officers were there came when an MP happened to step on a cat's tail while walking in the darkness near the house. The cat let out a squall, and for a few seconds there was much activity and scurrying around on the part of those present. 2 officers who returned to the Kelly area early this morning reported hearing that the little men had reappeared around the Sutton home about 3:30 a.m. Other investigators who went to Kelly later during the morning said they were told Sutton and Taylor had gone to Evansville today. Officers who visited the scene during last night's excitement were reluctant to express any opinion today in regard to the reported invasion of Kelly. All officials appeared to agree that there was no drinking involved. The only outspoken comment came from Frank Dudas, City Police Desk Sergeant who was not on duty last night and has not visited the scene so far. He said, "I think the whole story is entirely possible." Sergeant Dudas was one of 2 city policemen who reported seeing 3 flying saucers early one morning last summer. He said, "I know I saw them. If I saw them, the Kelly story could certainly be true." Oh. So, Chase, you live pretty close.
Just very close. Hopkinsville is about a 30-minute drive.
30-minute drive. Describe Hopkinsville to me. Has it changed much since 1955?
I'm not sure. I haven't really been much. I haven't been in quite some time, honestly. But I would say that it has. Everything here grows. Clarksville's growing hugely because everything here grows because of the Fort Campbell military base. Where Jimi Hendrix actually was stationed at when he was in the military.
See, now I find that interesting. When was that military base established there?
Fort Campbell?
Yeah. Let's look that up.
It's home of the 101st, and the 101st were first active in World War II. So, 1941.
1941. So.
Yep. 1941 to present is the use.
Do they store any nuclear missiles there that you know of?
Not that I know of, but I do know this. The movie Zero Dark 30, when you see Obama addressing SEAL Team 6, they were not addressed at Area 51 or wherever it was in that movie. They were addressed at Fort Campbell.
I see. So, military bases have a long history of here's the base, here's the UFO,
Yep.
And it's they tend to gravitate towards them. So I find that interesting. That's something I've not heard in any of the Kelly Hopkinsville stories.
Fort Campbell is just south. It's Fort Campbell, like Clarksville and Fort Campbell. Like, you really can't distinguish the two, except Fort Campbell is technically in Kentucky, even though a lot of it is in Tennessee because of the postal service.
Right, it just kind of spills over the border.
Yeah, it does. There's, like, Fort Campbell Boulevard, there's all kinds of buildings and everything. I consider it part of Clarksville, honestly.
See, now that is the stuff that I love hearing stuff like that, because that's something you're not going to get from just somebody who's done research.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've lived by Fort Campbell all my life. I've been on base. I've been at that museum where they have World War II planes right in front of the museum.
The one thing that I've always kind of believed that me reading that article out that our listeners heard earlier, there was no sign of drinking.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of chalked up the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblin. And believe me, I'm the kind of person that I desperately want this to be true. I want to believe that these goblins came from outer space, or they came from underground, and we'll get more into that later. Or like they materialized from the fairy world and just started
Shadows,
attacking.
Something.
Exactly. Grew out of trees, don't care. I want to believe that. What I always truly believed, not wanted to believe, but truly believed, were that these were great horned owls.
They were not. That owls are not 4 feet.
Yeah, I get that. But we're talking, it's the difference between drunk.
Yeah,
and then
drunk.
And then 1955, middle of nowhere Kentucky drunk. There's a difference.
There's a huge difference.
There's a huge difference. Because now we're talking like moonshine, and not this weak stuff that like they're selling today as moonshine. No, we're talking like essentially rubbing alcohol with a kick. And I have always truly believed, which I'm going to go back to truly believed and want to believe. I've always truly believed that's what happened. Booze and an owl looked in the window. But seeing...
I don't know about you, but owls do not go near windows.
I've had a few.
Really?
Yeah, I've had a few look into the windows. Although there is a researcher named Mike Cleland who has come up with a lot of interesting stories that owls and aliens and UFOs kind of go hand in hand. Like there's people that'll be out walking and they'll see an alien gray, and then the alien gray will look at him and just go, "I'm an owl," and psychically imprint on them that yes, this is an owl, and they'll walk away thinking they've seen a 4-foot tall owl. Yeah. The name of his book is The Messengers: Owls, Synchronicity, and the UFO Abductee, by Mike Cleland, Cleelland. It's $24.95 on Amazon. But yeah, really check out some of the podcasts he's been on. He's been on the Higher Side Chats. They've talked about him. I'm not certain if he has been on, but they've talked about him on Expanded Perspectives. And it's fascinating how like there seems to be this owl archetype that these aliens try to impress upon people. And whenever you look at the Hopkinsville Goblin, it's kind of the images that are drawn of it is kind of like what you would think of as a cross between an owl and an alien gray.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
It is quite the unnerving picture.
It really is. And
at least the Wikipedia one is.
Yeah, the Wikipedia one is kind of disturbing. It has a very frog-like look to it. Although I have seen artwork for it where instead of it having like 2 eyes on either side of its head, it's like wearing a set of goggles, almost like a welder's visor.
Huh. I don't think I've ever seen pictures like that of it.
So let's talk for just a second. What could it have been? If it wasn't something paranormal, something cryptozoological, what would be your first guess as to what the explanation is.
Well, it had a shotgun shot in the face, so a mirage, maybe. I don't. As you said, shotgun shot to the face. That face won't be there anymore.
Yeah. They said in the article. Yeah. Oh, the face disappeared. All faces disappear when shot by a shotgun.
Exactly. But I don't know what it could have been. I mean, owls aren't 4 feet, nor do they have hands and legs.
Yeah.
And there was no report of the thing having, like, I don't know, like a member, like a flying squirrel, kind of like arms connected to the body. There was no report of that, so, like, that couldn't be an owl. I have no idea.
Yeah. Now, psychologists Rodney Schmaltz and Scott Lilienfeld cite the incident as an example of pseudoscience and extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. I've got a problem. First off, I've got to say, I've got a problem with that phrase. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Who says?
Who says?
Who says so? Why does an extraordinary claim require extraordinary proof? Who is to say what is an extraordinary claim? What's the borderline between extraordinary claim and extraordinary proof? Why can't just normal proof back up an extraordinary claim? Because we have tons and tons and tons of Bigfoot prints that would be very difficult to fake, things that have prints and fur stuck in them and dermal ridges and everything. Why isn't that proof enough to go, okay, there's some large thing wandering around the woods?
You never know what's in the woods.
No, and that's what I love about the woods.
You never know what's in the ocean either. That's why I never go in the ocean.
I'll go in the woods. The ocean, though. Yeah, because here's the thing. The things in the woods only take people every once in a great while.
Exactly.
Sharks bite people all the time.
Yep.
If you're lucky, it's a quick death. Why though? Why do I need extraordinary proof for an extraordinary claim? And who's there to decide what's an ordinary claim and an extraordinary claim? And where's the borderline? Neil deGrasse Tyson, right before they discovered the Higgs boson particle, said, "Oh yes, we've not really discovered it, but we've discovered its footprint. So if we have its footprint, then it's there." But he's an amazing skeptic whenever it comes to the paranormal. Why is a footprint good enough for the Higgs boson particle, but a footprint isn't good enough for Bigfoot?
Well, there's been a lot of staged Bigfoot footprints.
And there's been a lot of staged scientific advances as well.
That's true as well.
We have Piltdown Man, which I believe was a hoax. Was Piltdown Man a hoax?
Piltdown Man?
Piltdown Man.
I don't believe I've heard of this.
Let's see here. Yes, the Piltdown Man was a paleoanthropological hoax in which bone fragments were presented as the fossilized remains of a previously unknown early human. So
okay.
there's an example of a scientific hoax, right? We've had scientific hoaxes before.
Oh yeah.
there's probably been thousands of perpetual motion machines put out there. So there's your claim. Why is a footprint good enough for the Higgs boson particle, but not good enough for Bigfoot itself?
Yep.
But that's neither here nor there. I'm getting away from this.
Yeah.
So going back to it, Rodney Schmaltz and Scott Littlefield, they cite the alleged example to help students develop critical thinking skills. Quoting Rodney Schmaltz and Scott Littlefield from Frontiers in Psychology, the Hopkinsville entities have a decidedly earthly explanation. The aliens were in fact great horned owls, and the eyewitnesses were probably intoxicated during an alien attack.
Well, that's already false, because alcohol was not involved.
Right. I think as soon as the police smell anything on the breath of a bunch of people saying that goblins were attacking them,
Yeah.
it's probably into the drunk tank you go.
Yup.
And yeah, you're going to stay there for a while. Your kids are now going to be put into protective custody.
Yep.
And then they say great horned owls stand about 2/3 of a meter tall. That is according to author Brian Dunning. So 2/3 of a meter tall. Let's see here. Great horn. I'm going to look this up here. Horned owl size.
I wouldn't say I have the Wikipedia page of them up. It depends on, because there are subspecies. 17 to 25 inches.
17 to 25
Adult.
inches.
Yep.
So that's double the size.
Average of 22 inches.
Right. These things are double the size.
Exactly. What, were the owls, like, standing on top of each other? Is that...
That's how they get into movies. But the thing that strikes me about these horned owls is that they would be very hard to see at night.
That is true.
They're dark colored. I can't see them like going in, and one shot
Would have killed an owl.
Yeah, it would have been feathers and gone.
Yeah.
And the rest of them would have left and not come back.
Yep.
So the fact that they're going like 14 or 15, even if it was just two owls that they were seeing over and over and over. The fact that they're saying, well, I think not 14 to 15, like 10 to 12 of them.
Yeah.
I can't see them. I can't see them doing this. And in the morning, they would have went, oh, geez, it was just an owl.
Yeah, they would have found a dead owl.
Exactly. But, and remember, the other guy had a 22, which does not do a lot of outward damage. A 22, actually, if I was going to kill something with a headshot, I would prefer a 22 to a shotgun. Because a shotgun is it's a lot of surface damage, but a 22, like if you put a 22 bullet into the brain of something, it goes in there and it bounces around a little bit and does a lot of damage. So yeah. I would rather use a 22. But it's saying like other ones were shot by this 22, other goblins, you would have found the dead owl.
Exactly. Also, there was the whole they saw them wearing something that looked to be metal plate, like metal plates on them.
Yeah, and I've heard other versions of the story where it's like a tight-fitting aluminum suit.
I don't think owls would be wearing aluminum suits, right, Scott?
I doubt it.
Owls don't wear suits.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the owl, the more that I'm looking into it, you take alcohol out of the mix, and the owl story becomes ridiculous.
Yes.
It's like everything out there, like everything that we see nowadays is a sandhill crane. The explanations I'm looking up for this are just awful. An escaped circus monkey in a costume.
Where there, that doesn't make sense either, because then you'd have a dead monkey.
Yeah.
10 to 12 dead monkeys.
That's a lot of monkeys to be missing.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of missing monkeys.
From what I understand, the area of Kentucky where the home is located, it's pretty flat.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of mountains around there. The two families involved were pretty religious, not really regarded as drinkers. Because every time I hear this story, I picture a bunch of hillbillies.
We're not all hillbillies, Scott.
I get that. But that's kind of how all of the reenactments make it seem. It's this cabin in the middle of the woods, and they're just a bunch of hillbillies. But I'm looking through this story, and nothing could be further from the truth. There were neighboring homes only a few hundred feet away. It is a rural area, but it's situated on the main road between Kelly and Hopkinsville. If you look at the aerial photos of this neighborhood, I don't think the families are lying. I think the owl theory is slightly plausible. I don't think he actually saw a UFO, though. There was a well-documented meteor fall visible from Kentucky. So, yeah, I don't think it was a UFO. There's just too many incongruities. Something went down there.
Oh, yeah, something definitely went down. Carnival workers were visiting the farmhouse, huh?
No.
No.
I think what we need to do is take the UFO completely out of the story, and then it goes into a whole different realm. Because now, exactly, it's not aliens. Now it's some sort of cryptid. April 22nd of 2012, Greg Newkirk from Week in Weird receives an email. They removed identifying names, locations. They give the sender the pseudonym David. And the email reads as follows. Hello, my name is David. I received your contact information through a mutual acquaintance who assures me that you are well equipped to investigate peculiar problems. Furthermore, I believe you may have interest in these events beyond any compensation that I am prepared to deliver in order to have these issues sorted. For the past 6 months, I have been living in a rural home located on the border of West Virginia and Kentucky, where my family is nightly assaulted by creatures that I have come to believe are of an extraterrestrial origin. These beings appear to be the size and stature of a small child, devoid of any facial features save for large, oily eyes and lipless mouths. They frighten my children by peering through their bedroom windows, chirping at one another. They actively attempt to enter my home in the middle of the night. Last month, they took my dog. The police refused to provide any further assistance, attributing the problems to wild animals and forwarding my complaints to the State Game Commission. I believe they are coming from an abandoned mine located on the edge of my property. Though I am armed, I'm afraid that I'm far too frightened to enter the mine by my lonesome and cannot convince any sympathetic friends to accompany me, though I cannot blame them. I am convinced that the only answer is to collapse the mine. I believe this is where we can be mutually beneficial to one another. If you are prepared to assist me in this matter, I can offer you permission to record and document these events under the condition of anonymity. I can guarantee you evidence of these creatures, which I assure you are not wild animals. The group that gets this email decides that it's probably just a joke. Why is he emailing a ghost hunting group for an alien problem? Was blowing a mine shaft up even legal? And the next day they get another email from him. It says, "Thank you for your prompt response. I do not blame you for being skeptical of my story. I appreciate you keeping an open mind about my situation. I am more than happy to provide you with as much information as I am able. I am located in Pike County, just outside of Blank, Kentucky. Blank is located roughly 30 to 60 minutes from the borders of Virginia and West Virginia, respectively. Most of Pike County is made up of small towns and rural communities. It is not uncommon to go days without seeing my closest neighbors. I have lived in this area for just under 7 months, and that time, the majority of harassment has occurred within the past 3. I did not become aware of any strangeness until early December, although that is only when I began to keep a record of these events. The second week of January, I'm having breakfast with my family when my 5-year-old daughter begins to talk about the kids without hair. When my wife inquired about these kids, she informed us that she had spent the previous night watching them play in the yard. I asked my daughter what these kids looked like. She told me that they were, quote, bald like grandpa and not wearing any clothes. So the children are seeing stuff. The dog ends up being attacked, missing, and they're seeing these over and over and over again. And then the guy comes back with this quote. The guy comes back with this quote. My friend has convinced me that my experience is similar to that of other visitation experiences, providing me with material and references that back up his claims. I am aware of the outlandish nature of what I have told you, but I am afraid that I have no other explanation for what I have seen, at least at this time. I can see no other explanation for what I have seen, at least at this time. Please inform me what you would like photographs of and where to send them." And the guy comes through with photographs.
Oh my God.
Yes. He comes through with photographs of strangely shaped footprints and 3 images of this creature that David claims terrorized his family. It's he's got it. He's got everything down. The EXIF data shows that the images were snapped without flash with a digital zoom of 2.1. The model of the camera used is a Canon A630. The photos were taken at 6:01 a.m. June 19th. And there it is. There's the photograph. Are you looking at the photograph there, Chase?
Yes, it is creepy.
It is extremely creepy. It is
That
extremely
is
creepy.
unsettling.
This actually reminds me, the Hopkinsville case, I'm finding it very interesting because each little section of this reminds me of another case. Have you ever heard of the Van Meter visitor?
No,
Okay.
have not.
The Van Meter visitor was this winged monster that terrorized the town of Van Meter, Iowa for several nights. This thing, it was a winged creature, had a glowing horn, enormous bat wings. The townsfolk ended up chasing this creature into a local mine shaft, and it was never seen again.
What?
Yeah. So, and that's where they said it emerged from. Now, if
That
you want,
reminds me of Mothman.
there is a lot of that too. And you know what? You're not that far away. Kentucky and Point Pleasant, West Virginia, not that far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if there was any disasters that happened around that time, but really that's kind of a stretch connecting the goblins, these little 4-foot tall, pointy-eared, big-eyed creatures, to an 8-foot tall winged monster that acts as a premonition of disaster that's coming. And
Yeah.
there's been other Mothman sightings around the world. In a town called Pripyat, people were seeing a Mothman there in the 80s. They called it the Raven. And of course Pripyat is the town Chernobyl. So people were seeing a Mothman type entity. This Van Meter visitor, this thing kind of looked like a pterodactyl with a glowing horn.
Huh.
And if it's an underground creature, it would need some sort of bioluminescence. It would either be blind or need bioluminescence.
Yeah.
But once again, you have that that mine. You know, these things. This man is saying, "Oh, these creatures came out of a mine," and that fascinates me.
Because if you take the spaceship out of the Hopkinsville one, they could have came from underground.
Exactly. And who knows what all's living, subterranean.
Mole people.
Why not?
Yep.
Why not? We have found multicellular life at just about every point in this planet. We haven't done a lot of exploring underground. Why wouldn't we find stuff underground?
Yeah, that's true.
You go to the highest points of this planet. You go to the coldest places on this planet. You find life. In the Arctic Circle, you find polar bears. In the Antarctic, you find penguins and seals. And yeah, every point on this planet has some sort of life. And I don't truly believe, and there I'm using that word again, truly believe. I don't truly believe that whenever you get far enough underground that the only things you're going to find are small bugs and microbes and blind crayfish.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's probably something very big downstairs in the basement. Yeah. Something in the basement is waiting for us. Now, one more tangent. Here. Yes, we've gone all sorts of places.
Oh no,
Mothman.
When it comes to stuff like this, there's all kinds of similar cases.
Right, we've gone Mothman, we've gone Van Meter visitor. This picture taken by David. The photos he snapped are extremely similar to what may be the first robotic cryptid. Once again, this is something I want to believe this. That people are seeing these things called the legs. And if you go over to reddit.com/r/humanoid encounters and just search legs, you will find a few posts. You will find a few posts about the legs. The legs appear to be rogue Asimo robots who now roam the wilderness.
I want to say that second picture is actually the second and third picture are the same pictures from the other site.
Right. It is these little creatures, these little robots, look very, very much like the Asimo robots. It's and their Asimos are artificially intelligent humanoid robots designed by Honda to do chores and navigate in human environments. Each one costs upwards of $1 million.
Yeah, that is an expensive robot.
Expensive robot. So whenever you watch Beck's Hell Yes, that video, that's like $5-6 million dancing for you.
Jeez.
So are these things, number one, are they aliens? Number two, are they cryptids? 3, do they come from underground? And 4, are these organic or robotic?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we would have heard of like rogue it's like, oh, we have this many Asimo robots missing. If they cost $1 million to make.
Yeah. And I don't believe that they're out there, just setting them loose in the world. I don't believe that it's a Johnny 5 scenario where they've gained sentience. I think that these are creatures that happen to look like the Asimo robots. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed our chat about the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblins. We've gone all over the place. Feel free to let us know what you think in the comments section below. Please please subscribe. Check out more of our videos on Strange Pathways. If there's something you would like us to do a podcast about, or would like Chayse and I to make a video about, as akin to North Sentinel Island, the Real Skull Island, akin to Ray's Town Ray, or the Hook Island sea monster. If you'd like to see videos about that, please let us know, once again, in the comments below. If you have had a paranormal, strange, unsettling, or disturbing encounter and would like to share it with us, please email me at strangepathways6@yahoo.com. Thank you so much for listening, and have a very wonderful night.